So going to explain the augmentation buff timer WeakAura. When you import it, it's going to look just like this. You're going to have timer, some bars that tell you how far along in a timer you are, and then you're also going to have some bar names if you want a visual way that's not just the glow to see it. By default, these are off. Um, to turn those on, you would just load and you would turn off never, and that would get them to show up. There's also some text on the little baby bars that show up above the timer. You can turn those on by going to the display, text one, show text. You can see the little font there. If you want to increase the size of it, check out the font flags or format options. Change that around. So that's it for the hidden features. Just wanted to make sure you could see those. Like I said, by default, you're not going to see the baby timers that are right here. And you're not going to see these, but I have them on for now for just showing what everything does. So the only things that you're really going to set up inside the WeakAura are in the custom options tab. When you just click on the WeakAura, you should be able to see them all. They're also all inside this WeakAura, so none of these have any options. So explaining how the WeakAura works, you can kind of just read this paragraph, but seconds in advance is how soon before a timer event that you put into the sheet, how soon do you want it to fire? So 18 seconds in advance, just going off this, right? It would be 1 minute 42 seconds is when the glow would start. And then the glow would last 30 seconds. So that's just an example of that math right there. Uh, these are global mutes. So if you don't want any audio whatsoever, you can turn these off. And as a general note, you'll see with the sheet, you can override the audio that plays at either of these moments. Um, and I'll show that in the sheet later. But that's basically the entire setup for this. You can change all the different stuff in the fonts for colors and all that. Um, and then I will explain these because it's going to link into the sheet. So in the sheet, I'm going to have 4 different groups you can assign people basically. And each one of those groups will trigger a different glow. I wanted this so you can customize the glows that actually pop up in people's frames. So if you want like a visual priority, by default, the first 2 are the same glow color. That's just this generic yellow. 3 is a blue and 4 is the purple. You can change these to whatever you want. So if I want it to be red, hit OK. It's red now. If you wanted to change this little square, it's just like a generic texture icon. Do it over here, but it doesn't do anything. In order to actually change the glows themselves, you have to go into the Actions tab. You have to change the glow color here. So that's it for the general WeakAura setup. This part's not too complicated. The sheet is where it gets complicated. So to show you how to use the sheet, you would first see this. You'd be hit with the welcome screen, setup, example, and then the blank sheets. Should be 10 here. There will be eventually. But this is the quick start guide, and it's basically what I'm going to be going over. So the first thing you need to do is file and make a copy. So making a copy, it's telling you that it is copying over the app scripts. This sheet does use app scripts. They're copied to your account. I can't actually edit the app script, so if I ever update them, you have to manually copy and paste it in, or you need to just make a fresh copy of the sheets. And I will actually show you guys exactly where the app scripts are as soon as I make a copy. So everything looks good. Make copy. So before I actually get started, I want to show you where the app scripts are in case you need to modify them for whatever reason, or if you just want to look at it, yoink some shit. If you go to extensions app scripts, I always get some weird misdirect error or redirect error that doesn't work, but if you just like Google, like if you go to scripts.google.com or whatever, and you get to here and you go to my projects, right, you can see this is where it is. So you can see the gear or the code here if you want to, and yeah, you can look through that if you want. So back to the sheet, getting it set up, you have to authorize it. You are authorizing yourself to yourself. It's going to try to run the script and then it's going to say, nope, you need to authorize. So once this box right here is green, that's how you know it's authorized. So authorization required, hit OK. Click yourself. This app is requesting sensitive information, but it says you're the developer, so it should be okay. Then you go down here to go to whatever is at the bottom and allow. All right, should be good. Test authorization. Ta-da, turn green, good to go. So in the setup, this is where you're going to put in character names, classes. That's it. Each DPS that you're going to end up buffing, or even healers or tanks or whatever, you put them all in here. I have my example characters in here. You probably want to delete everything in here once you actually go to make the sheet, or unless you actually have these guys in your guild. But I also have myself in here for showing some examples. So in the example sheet, this is where everything gets fun. First thing I want to say is you can mouse over all of these different tabs and they will give you a description of what they mean. Um, so people's names go in here, and you can have up to 4 targets per line. If for some reason you need more, let me know. I can probably make a custom sheet, or I guess add it in the future. And here are your timers. So these are set up on 30-second intervals. If you're playing with time skip, or not time skip, but I'm getting the right spec. The CDR one. Interwoven threads. So if you're playing with interwoven threads, you need to cut 3 seconds off. So I will have another sheet. I'll have a set amount of sheets that are set up like this for a default 30-second intervals, and I'll have another one set for 27-second intervals. I prefer the 27-second interval ones, because I don't like playing time skip, so I'll have both supported. So let's explain how this sheet is functioning. So timers on the left, you can edit these all you want. Just make sure you do exactly as it's put in here. Like you need 2 digits for the minutes, 2 digits for the seconds, and you can change these all you want. I believe you can even flip-flop them around if you want to, and it shouldn't affect any of the notes. Probably. You can kind of just mess the sheet up all you want. I think it can handle any kind of abuse. So targets, I have the group set 1, 2, 3, 4. Like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4 corresponds to the specific glow WeakAura. 1, 2, 3, 4. So however you want to set that up. With 10.2, we are having every third prescience will be doubled in extension. So I put this guy Toes here to kind of indicate that. He's in group 4. So when Toes glows, I know that he's getting my extendo prescience, and he will have a violet indicator. And that's just in case there's, for some reason, you want to actually give Toes prescience a little bit later than everyone else. And if you wanted to do some nifty stuff, you could create a new row. And then you could actually make a specific timer for toes. Throw a 4 in here. Delete some of these. And I want this to go off at, we'll say exactly as this timer ends. And want that to ride for 25 seconds. No, sorry, 15 seconds. So this would actually just have a single line and only toes would get the glow here. And that's if I wanted to separate it out. This is a good example of just, you know, easy way to throw in a quick little note in here and just kind of change things up. Let me make sure that looks right. Oh yeah, we can see Toes has his own little line right here in the note. So I'll give a quick rundown on exactly what I just did too, and kind of the way that this is interacting. Like I said, you're going to get a pretty decent amount of detailed information just by mousing over these. I do some formulas to kind of help you get a better idea. The way that it works is these are the same exact numbers as what's in your WeakAura, which is right here. So the seconds in advance and glow duration. Seconds in advance is just a when and glow duration. So this timer's set for 14 seconds. And I want the actual glow portion to begin 14 seconds before the timer. So basically, I want it to begin on pool. At 0 seconds into the pool, I want my Unholy DK and my Demo Lock glowing. I want them lit up. And then I want a duration of 14 seconds because I'm going to keep prescience up on them. And then I'm going to send Ebb and Might on pool, but I want to specifically send my breath. And then after I'm done my breath and they have prescience rolling, I want to go ahead and start worrying about other targets and start setting up for my next Ebb and Might window. So in order to do that, I set a sound on here at the timer, and when the timer hits, which would be at 14 seconds, I'll actually get a breath sound. So I'll have an audible cue to breath. I don't actually have to stare at the combat timer, which is, I think, nice. I hate having to stare at stuff. So audio cues for exactly what you need. And then I have a 25-second timer that's specifically for toes, although this probably would make more sense as a 30-second timer for the way I'm about to explain it. We'll just say like 8. So this is a timer that's at 30 seconds. 16 seconds before this, which is 14 seconds. Basically, as soon as this whole line is resolved, I'm going to immediately start glowing toes. And I want to glow toes for 8 seconds, just long enough to basically slap my double duration prescience on him. And he'll have his own, unique color because he's in group number 4. And basically, as soon as I prescience toes, I'm all done with him, and I go right into this third line right here. I start working on my 30-second window setup. So these little checkboxes here, these actually control the way that the sound operates inside the WeakAura. The WeakAura respects the global flags, like I said in the custom options. So if you have these disabled, then there's just no sound ever. You don't have to worry about it. But if it is enabled and this checkbox is unchecked, then you're not going to get a sound at the glow application. There's 2 different timings for sounds. There's the glow application for whenever, new raid frames start glowing. And then there's the timer application, which is the actual timer that you put in the sheet. So this kind of doubles as a, hey, I want to send a specific button here, or I want to hold, which is a great example of, let's say that 2 minutes is kind of a shitty cooldown window, but you have a really, really good breath lineup at like 2:30 for, I don't know, let's just say padding. You could actually go in here to the 2 because your breath's going to be off cooldown here. And if you make a sound right here that's specifically called hold, then you're told to hold. And I just made a ton of different sounds in here. I just put a bunch of text to speech so I can call various things for myself. And yeah, you can set this up however you want. And yeah, that's how sounds work. That's the point of these timers. That's how you set up people. So I can give you a quick example of how this looks in the game. So I copied the note. You just hit generate note here. This box will turn green when the note's been made. You just copy it and you paste it and you got your note. And you can enable that note with /mrt space n. And you see this is what we're working off of. So I'm going to trigger some of these. Normally you have to be in a raid encounter for it to work, but by changing a couple things, if you ever need to test, this is kind of the way you do it. You put in combat on, turn off this, and then turn off instance type, and now it'll work whenever you're hitting a training dummy. So this is generally what it looks like. So these little baby bars are tracking what is Mr. Slappy and Nether Portal, and as soon as it hits 14 seconds, the next one comes on, which was my toes. Or I guess it actually overlapped with this because I didn't set the timings up right because I was using a default value, which is a good quick explanation. If these values are blank, which they normally probably will be if you're doing a standard 27-second or 30-second prescience / might window kind of setup, you don't need to specify that for every single one. If you leave any of these fields blank, it just defaults to whatever you have set in your WeakAura's custom options, which by default are 18 and 30. The way I personally do it when I am playing Interwoven Threads is I throw 28 on the glow duration. I go ahead and I just keep seconds in advance as 18 as I like to have maximum comfy for sending shit. But 16 seconds also works pretty good. Same for 17 seconds, just from trying it out. Definitely play around with it, see what works for you. There's another case that I saw for using these sheets, which is really cool. So the way that I set these up is I prep entire windows and I don't spoon feed myself like probably the best order to prescience the rogue and the mage and stuff like that. But if you wanted to go really hard, you could set up all these timers to like your exact prescience CD. So 11 seconds. You could go in here and just start hitting the 25, something along this line, right? And if you just accept the fact that if you fuck up one single GCD, like the whole pull scuffed, that's like the end of it, then, totally depends on your risk management. But you could do that. And you could just have every single prescience always set up. So I know that I always want to hit these two guys. And then I know that this prescience, let's say we're gonna just use toes as like our double duration. And I instantly want to go into the rogue and arcane mage next, right? Then I want to hit star chick and then bubble guy. And you can just go down the line, right? And you can assign every single prescience if you want to. The sounds would get really spammy, so I'd recommend turning off probably all of them and having, let's say, specifically timers that only function is to play a sound. So something like, I don't know, attunements. If that's the route you're going, I would recommend that because these will, I mean, it's not exactly great to have every 11 seconds some text-to-speech in your ear. And I just click all these off except for this, right? So now you'd only get the attunements, call out, which is a lot better than, yeah, getting spammed. And that's one way to set it up. I've seen some other setups where people actually use uh, Omni CD and will display the, when people are actually in their cooldowns and they have a general idea of who's going to be in their cooldowns. I personally don't like this option because if they're already in their cooldowns, I like to say you're too late. So I can't recommend it, but I've seen people set it up like this where they have 4 valid targets that they could hit, even though it's not like just 2 optimal. You know, just so you always have a big selection to choose from in case one of your guys got a mechanic and now he's in Africa. So instead of like panic finding somebody to use your prescience on, you always have a backup to send it on whoever actually is in range. So that's, for the most part, how you set up the sheet. Quick run back through. Welcome screen, make a copy, test authorize yourself. Remember, you can see the Google scripts, which is basically just JavaScript, and you can see that I am not harvesting your data. I have some links in here to the actual WeakAura itself, video guide, which is what you're watching, my Discord, if shit's broken. If you want me to add something, let me know. And then I do have a link to Visario sheets because, as you probably can tell, this whole sheet mimics Visario like super fucking hard. And I definitely straight up like copied, what he was doing to make my sheets. Uh, Definitely big inspiration, and I always recommend that dude for if you're doing any rating whatsoever. Um, yeah, it's generally how she goes. I want to finish going over it. You do your setup in here, put in your DPS. I'll do an example guy. Select a class. Now we have another druid. Easy as that. When you go to your sheets, you can see example guys now on the list of guys. Simple as that. If you do copy, I do have it listed like on every single page. Use Control Shift V to paste. Do not actually Control V because the odds are is the formatting is going to get fucked up. And when the formatting gets fucked up, it could become helpless really fast, and you just need to copy like a new sheet over. It can just turn into a disaster. So generate note, get this guy green. Oh, I need that. One of these is correct. All right, so have my note in. I actually want to put myself in the note just so I can show some examples of what it looks like to have some guys on your screen. You get a general idea. So I'll just put my evoker in for 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that works, right? And like I said, I have the loading set up to actually fire without being in a raid fight right now. I gotta put my name in the sheet. Do remember to put your name in the sheet. If your name's not in this corner, it ain't gonna work. Quick aside with that, if you have a raid leader who actually wants to figure all this shit out for like the optimal way to control your augies and give people their dragon commanders rather, then you can actually put this up in like the normal note, and you could have 2 note sections. And let's say, this was your other aug, Glizzy Lizzy, and you send this out. Yeah, you can manage your evokers like you can manage your evokers. They don't have to actually do anything. But for a lot of people who are playing aug, you want to probably put it in your personal note. If it's in your personal note, it'll work just fine. And then you can have, your general raid CDs in here, and you won't mess anything up. So definitely shove this in your personal note. But raid leaders do know you can organize all of your augs. Now, let's see this thing in action. So that's me glowing. You can see I have a little exclamation point next to what group that character is assigned into. So I'm currently overlapping 1 and 2 right now, which is why it's solid. But One fell off. Now I have two. There is a lot of overlapping. I should maybe fix that, so we can see what the hell's going on. All right, let's half this glow duration. Like 11. I'll just put something so it works, right? All right, there's our one. You can also see the character name here. These are the bars. Wasn't sure the best height width for people who want to use a visual bar system like that, because I personally do not. But yeah, customize that however you need to. I have it set up to where you'll always see what class the glow belongs to, and then I'll also show their name, and then you'll have the countdown. Right, you can see we're in group 3. 4 decided to kind of override it, but that was the blue glow, and then we have our violet glow, and you can set those up however you need to. That was a audible call out. And yeah, it's generally how things work. You can also do this if you'd like to. WoWAnalyzer. Right here I have a log. I'll just quickly walk through, just throwing this in, just in case you have zero idea. Fucking around in reclear, rash shock. So I wasn't the aug here, but I had an aug. So I'll show you what it looks like when you plug that in. Files are aug, statistics, or overview. So you can use WoWAnalyzer's helper note thing if you prefer that. Click to load. I think this automatically configures itself in 30-second or 27-second windows based on interwoven threads, if you have it talented or not. This shows your prio list. You can copy that. And this is totally valid. Prepool works as it sends the, like, your glows at 0, 0. By default, since obviously this doesn't have the glow groups that I set up, it's not going to give you them. Everybody by default is going to use the glow group 1, so the first WeakAura in the list. But if you wanted to, you could come in, you could slap a 4 or, you know, a 3 on some things, and it'll work just fine. And hopefully that works. But yeah, this should be totally fine. You can just straight copy paste right from here. Click on this if you don't feel like setting up a whole Google Sheet. Totally valid. Besides that, that's generally everything about the sheet. I might make some, yeah, you can see I put the 4 here and I'm purple now. I may make some sort of custom sheets for maybe some fights if for some reason I get kicked off dev and got a aug, but um, yeah, and I'll definitely throw some bones if I see it'll be useful. Yeah, that's generally everything. You can always send me up on Discord. You can send me a message request, or you can just at me in the Voker Discord and one of like the off-topic channels, and then I'll look at shit for you. So yeah. One general side note is with alveoli, I know it just straight up like doesn't work with. It's like a 50-50 chance if it works. I don't know why. If you are not having success and nothing's glowing and you are using alveoli, I have seen solutions being to use either grid 2 or just default blizzard frames, and then just figure out like what is fucking your shit up. There's really nothing I can do for you. I don't use that thing. It is way too overcooked, and that's just like a reason I don't. I know that it works with Grid and Voodoo. There is a scenario where the WeakAura kind of shits itself. If you are using like Grid or Voodoo or any of those add-ons where you create a extra set of frames, let's say that you have like your set of 20 raid frames, but you also have it set up to where you get an extra set of raid frames for like the 6 people that you prescience throughout the fight. When this WeakAura triggers and it glows somebody, it will just randomly choose between one of the two sets of frames you have. It's not consistent. I honestly haven't found a correct way to get it to glow both of them. If anyone who is better making weak auras than me has a good idea on it and wants to figure out a way to basically look for all of these, the correct thing to anchor this to, and they come up with a value like an actual solution that works, and you just double the all states or something like that, then yeah, holler at your boy, because I have no idea how to get that shit working. But yeah, it's generally everything. Like I said, holler at me if you need it. And yeah, thanks for using the augyg WeakAura.